Hello, everyone. So today we're starting chapter 3A, and our first section is on relations. Our goal for today, I can make an equation which quantifies a relationship between variables. Go ahead and pre-rate yourself on that and see how you feel about it. Okay, so first off, this section's called relations, and we have to know what a relation is in order to work with them. So a relation is a connection between two variables. Now, when I say a connection between two variables, usually we use x and y. It doesn't have to be x and y, but I feel like most people, that's what they're usually comfortable with. Throughout this chapter, we will see many things being related to one another, and we'll try to make equations which quantify that relationship. Consider the following example. A moving company charges an initial fee of $100 and charges an initial $50 per hour of work. So first off, we want to know what are the variables in the story. What are the two things that we don't know? So we want to define what x is, and we want to define what y is. Okay, so those are our two things that we're missing. Usually y has to do some sort of totaling, like the sum or the quantified finished product, okay? So let's think about what we're missing here. So I know that I'm going to have work done, or I'm going to hire this moving company. I know that I have to pay them $100 no matter what. But then I also have to pay them $50 per hour of work, and I don't know how long they're going to work for. So the first thing that I don't know is the number of hours that are going to be worked. Since I don't know the number of hours I worked, I also don't know the total cost of how much I'm going to end up paying. All right, how are these variables related? So what we're looking for here is always going to start with as x increases. And you can say x, or you can say as number of hours worked increases, right? So this is as number of hours worked increases. What's going to happen to y? Is it going to increase or decrease? So we can say y increases also. So it's always going to be as x increases, and then you're going to say either y increases or decreases. And please realize that x is number of hours worked, and y is total cost, right? All right, so let's make a table and equation for the story. So x is going to be number of hours worked. So instead of labeling here number of hours worked, I can just put x in here because I already have it defined above, and this is going to be y. Okay, so now I want to come up with the number of hours that can be worked. So they can work 0 hours, right? They can work not at all. If I hire the moving company and I say, you know what, I cancel, I still have to pay them $100 for hiring them, right? They can work 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Now you might be saying, like, can't they work 2.5 hours or 1.5 hours or just a half hour? When you hire a company, usually if they work for, 37 minutes, you still have to pay for an entire hour of work. Okay, so let's say how much it's going to cost. So if they work 0 hours, it's still going to cost me $100 to hire them because it says that they charge an initial fee of $100. All right, then after 1 hour, it'll be $150. 2 hours, I'll have to pay them $200 total. Then $250, $300. All right, so now we're going to come up with an equation that represents this story. So go ahead and pause the video and try to write the equation yourself. All right, so we have our total cost is, so y equals, we have that $100 of initial money that we owe them plus $50 per hour. So that's 50x. So there's your equation, okay? Please also realize that that's the same thing as y equals 50x, so $50 per hour plus $100. Either one of these is fine. You do not have to have both. All right, the next question is the point 3, 200 part of this relation? Why or why not? So it's asking you right here, when x is 3, is y 200? If you look right here in our chart, we can clearly see that it's not. But let's show algebraically that it's not. So let's use our equation right here. So we have 200 should be equal to 50 times 3 plus 100. So is 200 equal to 250? Absolutely not. So notice I'm putting that cross right through it. So why or why not? So we're going to say no, it does not work. Why do we not know? When working 3 hours, the cost is $250. The cost is $250, not $200. So please make sure you're interpreting this. This sentence is very important here. I'm going to, in fact, box it as my final answer right here. Okay. All right, next one. Is the point 6, 400 part of the relation? Why or why not? Notice that is not in my table. And also, please keep in mind, I can be like, is the point 356, comma, and then, a big giant number. So please make sure you're relying on your equation and not continuing on that table. All right, so we're going to plug in 400 for y. Just remember, this is x, this is y. And then we're going to do 50 times 6 plus 100 and see if it's true. So I have 400 equals 50 times 6 is 300. 300 plus 100 is 400. So that is true. So yes, that is part of the relation. When working 6 hours, the cost is $400. Okay. So if you look at what we have from here, it's just practice, right? It's just 2 practices after that. So that's the gist of it, okay? All right, so let's do some practice here. It says, Mr. Boyd has 3 pet bunnies. He buys a 50-pound bag of rabbit pellets, and each day they're given about a half of a pound. So what are the variables in this story? So once again, I'm looking for X, and I'm looking for Y. Okay. So I need to figure out what's missing here. So I need to figure out what changes, and then because of that, what changes. It's called the independent and dependent variable. Okay. So X, let's reread this again here. He has a 50-pound bag of pellets, and then each day they're given about a half of a pound. So I just don't know how many days he's feeding the rabbits for, right? So X is going to be the number of days. Now, as days pass, right, as day 1 passes, then another day passes, another day passes. I have to ask myself, what's changing? What's changing is how much food is left, right? It was 50 and it's going to be going down from there. So the number of pounds of pellets left is what's going to be my Y value. Number of pounds of pellets left. All right, so as X increases, how are they related? And I'm writing my comparison here. As X increases, so as the number of days pass, what's happening to the number of pounds of pellets that are left? It's decreasing, right? Y decreases. All right, so I'm going to make my table. X is going to go here, Y is going to go here. And let's start with 0 days. So basically when he buys the bag, right? This is the most common thing people forget, is to start with 0. So make sure you're starting with 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so after 0 days or when he buys the bag, it has 50 pounds in it. Remember, each day he's given him a half pound. Now, this is a little bit confusing because is he giving a half pound per rabbit? Or is he giving a half pound for all of them? For our sake, we're just going to say a half pound for all 3 rabbits to make it so we're all doing the same thing here. It'll be less confusing if you were doing it on your own. Okay, so a half pound for all 3 rabbits. He'll have 49 and a half pounds left. And on day 2, 49, 48.5, and 48. All right, so let's write an equation for this. So I have y equals, all right, so he has that 50-pound bag, and he's losing, so minus a half pound every day. Now, you don't have to use 1/2. You can use 0.5, but I'm going to keep it as a fraction, 1/2. Please realize this is the same thing as he's losing a half pound every day, but he had 50 pounds. I think most people will do this, though. Okay, so list 2 points which are in the relation and describe what they mean. Okay, so I'm just going to use my table. I'm going to do this one first. I just randomly chose. So I'm going to list the point 2, 49. And I'm going to write a sentence that describes what that means. And that's after 2 days, there are 49 pounds of food left. There is or are? I was going to say pellets. So there is 49 pounds of food left. Period. All right, now I'm going to pick another. So that was that one right there. I'm going to pick another point, anyone I want. I'll do this one. I'll do 3, 48.5. After 3 days, there is 48.5 pounds of food left. You do not have to pick something from your table, but it's the easiest. Why wouldn't you, right? Okay, let's try another example. So this one's talking about Olivia. It says Olivia is in Los Angeles, which is about 1,700 miles from Chicago. She's driving home at an average speed of about 70 miles per hour. So once again, I need to know my 2 unknowns. So she's driving home, and I know how fast she's going, but I don't know how many hours she's driving for. So X is going to be my number of hours. Now, I know she's starting out at 1,700, and then every hour she's gone 75 miles because she's going 75 miles per hour, 75 miles every hour. So I'm going to be able to take 75 miles off that total as she drives there. So I'm going to say Y is either the number of miles left to Chicago or miles to Chicago. So I'm going to say number of miles left to drive. Left to drive. How are these variables related? So as X increases, Y, so as time passes, she has less miles to drive, right? She has less to drive. So Y decreases. All right, I'm going to put X values here, Y values here. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, after 0 hours, how far is she from Chicago? 1,700 miles. After 1 hour, she's driven 75 miles. I'm going to do 1,700 minus 75, which is 1,625. Now I'm going to keep subtracting 75. So after 2 hours, she's only 1,550, 1,475, and and then 1,400. All right, now I'm ready to write my equation. Y equals, so she started out at 1,700 miles from Chicago, but every every hour she goes 75 miles. So there's my equation. Yes, you can write y equals negative 75 plus 1,700, but I don't think many people will. All right, last, list 2 points, which are in the relation to describe what they mean. Go ahead and pause the video and try that yourself. I'm going to pick this one, and I'm going to pick this one. Start with that one. So I'm going to do 0, 1,700. So my first one, I'm not going to say after 0 miles traveled. I'm going to say, what's her name? Olivia. Olivia started at 1,700 miles from Chicago. All right, now for my second one. I picked 1,625. So I'm going to say after an hour, Olivia is only 1,625 miles from Chicago. Now you could have picked any other points. You could have said from home instead of from Chicago. But I like having the sentence after blank. Blank is blank from blank, or there is this many left. Okay, so go ahead and re-rate yourself and how you feel about the goal for today, which is I can make an equation which quantifies a relationship between variables. All right, that's it for today. You can go ahead and get started on homework